After submitting Form A, the next step is to submit Form B, the Supply Order Form, and Form C, the ABE Teacher Policies and Expectations Form. To find the form, navigate to the Distribution Center drop-down menu and locate your distribution center. Scroll to the bottom where you can see all forms available and click on Form B, the Kit Supply Order Form. The supply order form calculates the quantity of reagents and supplies you will need to complete the ABE labs with your students. It is also used to provide program statistics to the ABE Program Office to secure grant funding. The supply order form must be completed at least 4 weeks before your scheduled time slot to allow your site coordinator to prepare your order. But you can also submit it immediately after you submit your kit reservation form, Form A. If you do not submit an order form in time, your ABE reservation could be canceled, so be sure to complete the supply order form in a timely fashion. The supply order form takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes to complete. It is important that you fill it out thoroughly and carefully, as this information is used to calculate the amount of reagents you need to perform the ABE labs with all of your students. Before completing your supply order form, please consider the following. All teachers, even if sharing an ABE kit, must complete a separate supply order form at least 4 weeks before their scheduled time slot. Teachers who do not submit a supply order form in time may have their scheduled time slot canceled. When asked for student or group numbers, enter your response as an Arabic numeral and do not include any letters, spaces, or other symbols. If you enter anything other than an Arabic numeral for questions asking for numeric values, the formulas we use to calculate the amount of supplies and reagents you need to complete the ABE labs will not work, as we will not be able to successfully complete your order. Do not pad the numbers. Extra supplies and reagents are already included in the formulas used to calculate the amount of consumable items you will receive. First, the form is going to ask you to enter some personal information, including your email address, your phone number, and the date that you're scheduled to participate in the ABE labs. Next, the form asks you to read, sign, and upload the ABE Teacher Expectations and Policies form. This is the same as Form C. If you click on the link, this will bring up Form C. Make sure to fully read this document, as your site coordinator may refer to it throughout your kit reservation. Going back to the form, you will be able to upload directly into Form B. Next, the form will ask questions about your school. These questions are straightforward and should be easy to answer. You then indicate what materials you need to perform the ABE labs. In my case, my school doesn't have any of the equipment I need to perform the labs, so I will be requesting a full kit. Reminder that if you select kit, that means you either need a full kit, partial equipment, or a Lab 1 only kit. Any equipment use should select kit. If you are a teacher who has their own equipment and you only need reagents and consumables, make sure to select the second option. Next, you'll want to indicate the total number of students in all of the classes that you will be doing the ABE labs in. In my case, let's say I have 5 classes, 2 with 40 students each, 2 with 36 students each, and 1 with 36 students. I'd add all of those numbers together, meaning that I would have a total of 188 students. Next, you indicate the total number of classes in which you will be doing the ABE labs. For example, 2 classes of Honors Bio, 2 classes of AP Bio, and 1 Biotech class equals 5 total classes. Next, you have to enter the total number of courses in which you will do the ABE labs. For example, 2 classes of Honors Bio and 2 classes of AP Bio equals 2 different courses. In my case, because I'm teaching 2 classes of Honors Bio, 2 classes of AP Bio, and 1 Biotech course, that constitutes 3 courses. Next, you have to supply information about each of the courses you will be teaching. The first course I am teaching is Honors Biology. They will be completing the Abridged Lab series without Lab 6, and they will not be performing colony PCR. Make sure to select that you will be implementing another course if this is the case. In my second course, which is an AP Biology course, they will be completing the Abridged Genetic Engineering sequence with Lab 6. but they will not be doing colony PCR. Again, if you have another course to provide information on, make sure that you select that. Finally, in my biotech course, students will be doing the complete lab series. This includes lab 6, and I will add on that they will be completing the colony PCR lab as well. Now, because I am only teaching 3 courses, I am done with this section and can move on to the next section. However, if you have more than 3 courses then you will be teaching, make sure that you add in the next couple of courses. But in my case, I will hit no. Make sure that you read the next question very carefully, as this will ensure proper flow of the survey. The question asks which lab sequence you will be implementing in your classes. This is inclusive of all of your classes and courses. Please read all options carefully. Option 1, I will be doing more than one lab sequence with my classes. Because I plan to do the complete sequence and the abridged sequence, I will make sure that I select this. If you are not running the series in this way, you can select all the other options, including I'm only doing the complete genetic engineering series with my classes. I'm only doing the abridged genetic engineering series with my classes. I will only be doing the Focus on Bacteria series, or I will only be doing the Lab 1 Tools of the Trade series. I'm going to make sure that I hit the top option that indicates I will be doing more than one series. The next section of the equipment supply order form is really important because the values you enter here are what we will use to calculate the amounts of reagents and consumable items that you will need to complete the ABE lab series with your students. From this point forward, the supply order form is divided by the different lab sequences. You only need to complete the sections for the labs in which you plan to participate in. For example, this first section here is specific to the complete genetic engineering sequence. If you did not plan on participating in that sequence, you would skip this section to either the abridged, the Focus on Bacteria, or the Lab 1 Focus on Biotechnology lab section, and just complete the lab sections that you plan on conducting with your students. If you are going to be completing the complete genetic engineering sequence with any of your students, you will need to complete this section. First, you're asked to enter the total number of students doing the complete sequence. In my case, that was my biotechnology class of 36 students. Therefore, that's 36 students total. Next, you need to enter the total number of groups doing the complete sequence. In my case, I'm going to be doing it with one class of 36 students, and I want to have 3 students per group, meaning I'm going to have a total of 12 groups. Next, you have to indicate the date on which you plan to perform the transformation lab. Usually, this is 1 week or so into your reservation dates. Next, if you are doing the protein purification lab with your students, you have to indicate the number of groups that would be participating in this lab. In my case, I'm having all my students who are completing the complete sequence to also complete the protein purification lab, meaning I will have 12 groups total. Next, you have to enter the total number of groups that will be doing colony PCR. And again, in my case, that's 12 groups for my biotech class. Make sure that you read the final question. Will you be implementing another sequence in another course? And if you recall, yes, I will be implementing the abridged series. So the next section pertains specifically to teachers who are going to be completing the abridged genetic engineering sequence with their students. The questions asked in this section are exactly the same as they were for the complete genetic engineering sequence. So again, I have to enter the total number of students that I'm going to be doing the abridged sequence with. In my case, I have 2 classes of 40 and 2 classes of 36 students for a total of 152 students. In my classes with 40 students, I will have 4 students per lab group, meaning 10 groups per class. And in my 36 student classes, I will have 3 students per lab group, so 12 groups per class. Therefore, I will have a grand total of 44 lab groups performing the abridged series. Next, I want to indicate the date of transformation for my classes that are completing the abridged series. And again, typically, this will be 1 week into your reservation dates. Next, you want to indicate the total number of groups doing protein purification following the abridged sequence. In my case, it will be a total of 24 groups across classes. Next, I need to specify the total number of groups doing colony PCR following the abridged sequence. If you recall, for the abridged sequence, this would be a total of 0 groups. Since I am only running the complete and the abridged sequences, for the following question, will you be implementing another sequence in another course? The answer will be no. But if you were, make sure that you hit yes to be brought up to the next options, focus on bacteria or lab 1 only. Next, the form will ask me if I plan to implement lab 6, purifying the fluorescent protein with any of my students. And in my case, my answer is yes. I need to specify how I want to complete Lab 6, the protein purification lab, with my students. At a minimum, all distribution centers offer 2 options. The first option is to request supernatant, which is ready for column chromatography. This is recommended for new teachers as it makes it easier and quicker to complete Lab 6. In this case, your site coordinator will culture and lyse the transformed cells for you, and the tubes will be ready for Lab 6 protein purification Part B. In other words, you're skipping Part A of Lab 6. Another option is to grow a culture yourself so that you complete both parts A and B of Lab 6. You would culture transformed cells at your school using a shaking incubator and lyse the cells, centrifuge them, and then do the chromatography lab. Some centers will offer a pre-grown culture, meaning your site coordinator will give you a pre-grown culture that you will then carry on to do parts A and B of part 6. In my case, I want to complete all of Lab 6, parts A and B, so I will not be needing supernatant for any of my groups. And I want to grow my own culture, so I will not be requesting a pre-grown culture for any of my groups. I will instead put down all of my groups performing Lab 6, which is a total of 36, down for growing a culture, which means I will get the supplies I need to grow a culture at my school, and my students will be able to perform part A and B of Lab 6. Finally, in this section, you can indicate any additional items you might need to successfully perform the ABE labs with your students. If you need partial equipment, you must indicate here all the equipment you will need. Again, the equipment available at each distribution center varies. If you need a full kit, then select Full Kit. The full kits contain all of the listed items except for add-on thermocyclers, incubators, and shaking incubators needed for Lab 6. In my case, everything I need will be in the full kit, but I do want to remind them that I need a shaking incubator for Lab 6 and that I also want dog drool and kitten paternity kits as Lab 1 extensions. Next, you need to indicate whether you will be using your own transilluminator and its type, and whether you will be using your own gel boxes, so we can provide you with the correct DNA stain and buffers. Finally, the form will ask demographic questions and questions about using LabXchange. These questions are fairly simple and easy to answer. After you complete this last simple section, you will be able to submit Form B. Congrats for getting through it. After submitting your order form, you'll receive an email containing a copy of your supply order form spreadsheet. You should review it to ensure that the dates, number of students, number of groups, and labs in which you plan to participate in are correctly listed on the form. In my case, I wanted to have 152 students participate in the abridged sequence and 36 students participate in the complete sequence, and I wanted 44 groups to participate, and I wanted 12 groups to participate respectively. The supply spreadsheet shows me that I selected 24 groups for the Lab 6 protein purification lab, and that I selected a total of 12 groups to do that for complete, and 12 groups to also do the colony PCR after the complete sequence. Notice that for the abridged sequence, I only have 24 groups doing Lab 6, and I selected no groups to move on to do colony PCR. This section contains the amount of groups for Colony PCR, growing a culture. If you wanted different classes to do different things for your Lab 6, for example, if you wanted one class to grow a culture, but you wanted another class to be given a pre-grown culture, and you wanted yet another class to start at Part B of Lab 6, only needing supernatant, then you would see group numbers for these values as well. But in my case, all of the classes performing Lab 6 will be using or growing their own culture. So I only have groups inputted for that option. Remember, there was a section where you could add for extra equipment. Here, I am indicating that I need a full kit plus a shaking incubator to grow a culture, and that I also wanted extension lab dyes. Those are dog drill dyes and kitten paternity dyes. This form looks good to me, so it looks like I completed Form B correctly. If I see any issues with this spreadsheet, I would contact my site coordinator and let them know what corrections need to be made. There is no need to submit another Form B response, as my site coordinator will be able to correct any issues on their side of the form. Now that you know how to fill out Form B and all of the information you will need to do so, we strongly recommend you create a summary page like the one you see here. Like mentioned before, completing Form B can take up to 20 minutes. Creating a summary page like this one will easily reduce that amount of time by about 5 minutes. Please make sure you continue on to the next video in the series. The next video will discuss scheduling a kit pickup and drop-off, and the next forms, Form E's, which are student forms.